Hey again, let's do some basic step layout, string lines, heights for 2 steps and a wall. So I set my first length of rebar, about 3-foot chunks of rebar, just so that we can get up to our 14 inches in height for the steps. And this first one I'm just measuring across 3 feet and setting my corner for the wall. And that 3-foot section there is going to be where our steps are going to go. And if you saw my earlier string line videos, I'm just tying the basic starting knot. And this is going to allow me to set my 3rd stake for the end of the wall. So I'm just using the string line as a way to line up the 3rd stake so that it's in a really nice straight line with the other 2. So it's just hovering in front of that 2nd one. That's how I establish that. And now I'm looking at setting my benchmark on the 1st stake so that I can transfer that point onto the other 2 stakes and make a nice level line. So the benchmark should go off of existing concrete or just an established height that you can pick that works with the landscape. And I'm just setting the bottom of the stick of the laser level to my height and literally just transferring that line onto the other 2 stakes. This will give me a reference point on each stake in which to level and measure up from in order to establish the top of our steps. So 7 inches will be a standard step height, and that would be step 1 and 2. We're just going to make a couple marks on each stake for those. Just try to keep everything nice and simple. Kind of nice I won't have to use it laser level again now once I establish those first marks. And the last stake here I'm just setting at 14 inches to get to the top of our wall height. So we're using blast rock and a Holland paver on top for our steps. So I want to get my line set for top of rock 1 and top of rock 2 so that I know exactly what height to build my rock risers to. That'll be our starting point. So I simply set my height depending on what materials you have. So with our Holland paver, with the thickness of the paver plus about 1/4 inch of mortar, we're looking at 2.5 inches. So I keep things nice and simple. I'm literally just measuring down from the 7-inch and 14-inch marks, 2.5 inches each, and that gives me my height for the first actual rock riser portion of my step. So once again, setting our marks at 7 inches and then just literally measuring down the thickness of our material to get to the top of where we're actually going to build the rock work, as opposed to the top of the actual step. And now I'm just establishing the height for the actual wall portion. So that's just level at 14 inches. And here's a good schematic. So we have our benchmark measuring up to 7 and 14, then down from each of those 2 to the top of rock. And now I want to set up my tread depth. So that's going to be the surface of the treads. It'll be about 13 inches, and I want to take into account any overhang as well. So we're going to have about 1/2 inch of overhang. So we're going to set it to 12.5. I'm just pounding in a stake at 12.5 inches from that initial line. This will be the face of the 2nd step. So I'm going to do that there and on the other end. 12.5. And just a note here, I don't worry about calculating slope. All I'm doing is setting my front corners of the steps at 7 inches and 14 inches, and then I'm literally not even worrying about the slope until my steps are, the rock risers are built and I'm getting ready to put my pavers on. When I put my pavers on is when I just simply pick up the back of the pavers, just 1/8 to 1/4 inch. Whatever material you're using might change the slope a little bit to give slope after. But the very front corner of each step is going to be at 7 and 14. And that way I don't have to calculate slopes and all that, because that's when things get way too complicated. So I'm setting my height for the second step. I just simply measured across from my marks that I made on the front stakes, so that makes it nice and easy, and that way I have something to refer back to all the time, so I can double check, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. And now I'm just making sure that it's really nice and parallel to that front step. I just want to tweak it and get it as close as possible so that it's extremely accurate. This will really improve the quality of your projects. And after this, I'll show you some fitting and shaping of rock to get up to this height, and we'll take it one step at a time. Till then, stay tuned for part 2.